sure a lot of you have heard by now about the rumors and speculation and news about the Arizona Coyotes. And I'm wearing a Coyotes jersey because that's who we're talking about in this video. So I originally intended to make another video that has nothing to do with this. But then I thought the whole Arizona Coyote thing is really distracting, and I figure I throw my opinion out there. Not that it's going to matter, because it really doesn't. But what I think is important is the team has been bleeding money for almost 30 years. They've been in the desert since they relocated in 1996 from Winnipeg to Phoenix, and they've only made the playoffs 5 times in their first few years, and then since then, they've never really capitalized on it. And since then, it's just been scandals and corruption and, playing executive hot potato, different owners, different players leaving and going, and then they're just desperate. They honestly were desperate of keeping the team in the desert. And Bettman has been trying for almost 30 years to keep the team in the desert. And I appreciate the efforts that he was trying to do, but I think anybody like you and me would probably say, dude, just give up. This is not going to work here. And it's gotten to a point where it all started, I think it was on Monday, where Ryan Smith, who currently is the owner of the Utah Jazz in the NBA, came out with a tweet that basically said, if there was an NHL team in Utah, what should the team name be? And then a lot of people were thinking this is pure speculation about the future of the team, because originally planned was they were going to buy a massive piece of land in northern Phoenix, right near Scottsdale, on June 27th, and there was an auction for land, but it's looking more and more obvious and more likely that they're going to end up moving to Salt Lake City. Now, I feel bad for diehard fans. I really do. I think the fans deserve better. It's not in fault of the fans. That's with any team that moves out. The fans tried their best to just do what they can to support the team. It's the executives, the ownership, and everything between. Like, how many years have we heard that the Coyotes were the butt end of a joke, taking on dead cap just to reach the floor, getting guys like washed up Jakub Voracek, washed up Pavel Datsyuk, trying, advertisement moves like bringing in Brett Hall, Curtis Joseph, bringing in Shane Doan, bringing in his son, which is considered nepotism, and then everything in between, guys like Jeremy Roenick, who they tried to do a second time, and it really hasn't worked. Bringing in Wayne Gretzky as a head coach one year, the Coyotes are just literally the butt end of a joke, and I'm sorry to say that, because that's the reality of the situation. I'm not a fan of the team, and I have no connection to the city or anything like that, but as my general opinion, as just a regular average guy, this team needs to move on, and it's getting to a point where I don't like to sound like a prick, but it sounds like the team is in hospice care, and April 18th, that's the date of the announcement, is that Gary Bettman will most likely get an approval from the Board of Governors, and he's going to go up into the podium next week, the day after April 17th, which is A, my wife's birthday, and B, the Coyotes' last game in Tempe ever in Mullet Arena, and that would be their last ever game in the NHL at that point. And people are saying, oh, you have to be careful with information, with this and that, because originally it was said that they were on the verge of moving, but then Alex Burrolo, who owns the team now, currently was looking to sell it for $1.2 billion to the NHL. Then the NHL would then flip it to Ryan Smith, who, again, owns the Utah Jazz, and then have him buy the team, and then they would relocate. It even got to a point where there was a rumor over the week that they were going to get 2 separate schedules, one in Arizona and one in Salt Lake City. So it's like, if you know that there's 2 schedules for one team coming out, this is ridiculously bad. I know this happened a few years ago in baseball with the Tampa Bay Rays when they were still trying to get negotiations for their new stadium in St. Petersburg, and one of the options they had was to stay in Tampa Bay and then play half of their games in Montreal, and the city of Quebec just literally spat in their face because of how they were treated all those years ago. The same thing is happening here with the Coyotes, where I don't think that people want to see them leave. It's just there's been so many problems and an unstable ownership, and it's just bleeding tens of millions of dollars, and it's making the NHL look like a total joke. So I think for them to move from Arizona, and a lot of the players, by the way, were reportedly not happy about it, where they would reportedly move from Arizona to Utah, which is an 8-hour drive, or maybe 45 minutes to an hour by plane or whatever. So the point is that you're going from the desert to the mountains. I don't really see that as a bad ordeal, but I understand that there's families involved and the players didn't ask for it. The owners deliberately went behind their back and literally told the league, listen, we don't think we could win the bet in June to keep the team in the desert, because that was their main shot. Their main goal was to win the auction on June 27th for that big piece of land in northern Phoenix. And if they bought the land and they won it, they would have stayed. But it's not looking very good. Because even dating back to last year, when that big vote thing came out last year in Tempe, where they were going to get that brand new stadium, that got shut down on all three phases. So people are just like, well, what do you do now? And at that point, you just think, well, this is it. You cannot keep a professional sports team in a college hockey arena for another 5 years. You just can't do it. The original plan was for them to stay in ASU for 3 years and then move to the new stadium in Tempe. It's not going to happen. And even now, it's getting worse. That the mayor, I forget his name, told the Coyotes themselves, fuck off, we don't want you in Scottsdale. Stay where you are, we don't want you here, you're not welcome. That was basically the whole ordeal of the Coyotes. So you have to make a decision about the situation. Do you just move on, pull the plug out, and then go? Because I know Bettman is punching in the air about the situation, because he's been destined to keep the team in Arizona for as long as possible. This should have happened around the same time. They should have moved at least 2 years after the Atlanta Thrashers moved to Winnipeg. The Coyotes could have been somewhere else, but now they were talking about moving them to Quebec City. They were talking about moving them to Houston, and they were talking now, of course, of Utah. And Ryan Smith, like I said, the owner of the Jazz, has been wanting this team for a while, and it's already been coming out saying that if he gets the team, which he most likely will by next week, if he gets the team, the Utah, whoever they're going to be called, they're going to rebrand the team and everything. They're not going to call them the Utah Coyotes or the Salt Lake Coyotes. It's just not going to happen. They're going to completely demolish the Coyotes, and they're going to completely rebrand them and turn them into whatever Smith thinks is best for the organization and everything. One name I pitched was the Utah Mountaineers, and I think that to me would be perfect. There's a lot of mountain areas in Utah, and there's a lot of forest stuff and everything in between. I love the outdoor life, and I think that's a perfect, name for a hockey team. The Grizzlies would have been nice, but that's already being used in the ECHL. The Utah Gulls, that's the state bird of Utah. That's already taken because of the San Diego Gulls, which I believe is in the AHL or the ECHL. One of those two leagues. So you can't use the Grizzlies and you can't use the Gulls. The Mountaineers I don't think is taken. So I think that would be a really cool name for a professional NHL team. Unless they come up with something else. I really don't know. But regardless of how this is being played out, the players were stabbed in the back. Bill Armstrong, the general manager of the Coyotes, is actually flying out to their next game tonight to actually talk to the team and basically tell them what's happened and answer all their questions, basically, and say, look, guys, this is going to be our last year here in the desert. We just want to let you know, we want to thank you guys for your always service here in Glendale and in Phoenix for the last 25 years or so. And is there any questions you guys want to take in? Fire away. And everybody's job is in jeopardy. Clayton Keller already said if the team moves, he's out. And chances are looking high, he's going to get moved. And then a bunch of other players are very unhappy as well. Like, would the Coyotes dismantle the whole team and then just give them all the players and then trade them all? I don't even know. They might not even keep the coach. They might not even keep Bill Armstrong as GM. It's such a mess. Like, they're just trying so desperately to keep this market in play, but it's just not working out. You have to pull the plug. This is it. The Coyotes are in hospice care. They're going to close their eyes and their spirit leaves the body. That's where the Coyotes are heading now. This is it. But Bettman did say a while back that Alex Marullo, if he were to sell the team, would get guarantee as ownership of the next Arizona team. And they're talking about it in less than 3 years, that the team might end up coming back to this market. If he does, I'm like, then what's the point of even relocating the Coyotes if you're just going to bring them back? What's the point? So this might be a temporary thing where the team doesn't have a team, and or where the city in general doesn't have one, and they could very well get an expansion team. So then, like, what are you gonna do if the fans still say no, or if the citizens still say no? Nobody gives two shits about a corrupt team. They've had executive hot potato. They've had executive, marketing tactics. They've had desperational, things in play. They're playing in a 5,000 college hockey arena right now. That's not good marketing, and that's not good business. That's an embarrassment and a black eye to the league. This is almost as bad as what's currently happening in baseball with the Oakland Athletics, who, granted, I feel just as bad for, because John Fisher and Dave Kaval are pieces of shit. and they're moving that team to West Sacramento in Summit Hall, I believe, where they're going to play there until 2028, and then they're going to move the team to Las Vegas. That's the same thing that's happening here. The only difference is this might be done quicker. And if there's this much talk of the team being moved from Glendale or Tempe to Salt Lake City, this is a pretty good chance that they're going to not be the team that they are expected to be. Like, the Coyotes are no more, and they're going to be called the Utah something. And this would be an exciting chapter for fans of hockey in Utah, because you're getting a professional NHL team, and there's already been discussed already, by the way, of major renovations over at the Delta Center, and that's where this team would be playing. So we don't even know if they're going to be called the Coyotes. I doubt it, but in my final consent of this whole ordeal is I wish the Arizona Coyotes and all their players the best. Good luck in Salt Lake City. People are going to say, well, it's not official yet. Trust me, April 18th is going to be the day. Gary Bettman's going to make an announcement saying they're going to relocate the team. It's going to be the Thrashers all over again, and then they'll have a new name by the time the NHL draft comes around. Watch. So, with that being said, I'll talk to you guys later, and rest in peace to the Arizona Coyotes. Godspeed.